Welcome everyone. Today we have a little podcast at BH Trends, and our guest is Mike Davis. He's a Career Manager of Career Relationships at Trailer Bridge, right? Mike, how about we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Mike Davis. Before I was at Trailer Bridge, I was at CH Robinson on carrier sales role for 23 years. I came over here last June, and I am in charge of all things carrier at Trailer Bridge on the brokerage side.
Amazing. A lot of experience.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of topics that I want to talk with you about. Every topic will have one or two questions. They're pretty simple. Let's go ahead and get started.
Sure.
So the first topic I want to talk about is the broker and carrier relationship. What qualities do you look for when partnering with a carrier?
The most important thing for us right now, obviously with all the fraud in the environment we deal with, is a carrier that has a great safety record, clean Carrier 411 reports, and we look for carriers that are looking for partners. Like we're not looking for anyone who's just a one-time thing. We want people who are looking for people for long-term relationships.
Let's say, for example, we're gonna get a freight card. You know, it's trucking.
Yeah.
When you have big fleet, everything, some things might go wrong.
Yeah.
Would you consider work with a good carrier if he has a freight guard until it gets resolved, or you guys completely shut off the operations with them?
It depends on the freight guard and the situation. With BH Trans, yes, I pretty positive we can, because we have such a great relationship and we take so much freight that it would be such a negative impact to our business that we wouldn't want to risk it for something small that who knows what actually happened. We have to find both sides out and talk more about it before. But yeah.
Definitely. So the next topic is load management. How do you prioritize loads when working with carriers, and what factors play the biggest role in assigning the loads?
Our first factor is we want less carriers taking more loads. It's always what we want. We want to have, our main deal is the relationship, like we've been trying to say. So we always try to offer the carriers who haul the load before we offer anyone else. After that, we try to keep loads on the carriers that have taken other freight from Trailer Bridge. And after that, we will post it and look for loads. For someone new that hasn't taken us before.
I see. Well, I guess it's a common practice for everyone.
So coming from CH and backhaulers, I come from an environment where we've always prioritized relationships. Not all brokers do that. So some brokers, they just think of it as a load by load basis and transactional. They think carriers on a transactional basis, and they don't necessarily want to work with the same carriers over again. They just want to get the load covered that day for the cheapest price they can.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, and also sometimes, your customer says, listen, I got you 23 last time, this time I got you 21, do you still want it? And 21's better than 0, so you got to kind of renegotiate. And if your carrier can't do that, then you feel bad, but maybe someone else can.
Makes sense. Somebody doesn't really want to spend the entire day, right?
Yeah.
I see. For the next topic, I want to discuss the challenges in the industry. How has the market changed post-pandemic, and what impact has it had on brokers and carriers?
It's been tough.
Only
way to say it's been tough, right? So obviously the pandemic was crazy. Like I remember very beginning of the pandemic when there was no loads. It was
6 months, right?
For 6 months, or not even 3 months, and all of a sudden there was food loads that had to go everywhere now. But that was it. And then everyone started buying stuff, and so there was freight everywhere, and we couldn't even predict where the market was going to go. I mean, this was like CH Robinson. They have the most craziest analytics you'd ever imagine. We couldn't predict anything. They would say the numbers shouldn't be here, but here they are, go cover the freight. And we were like, okay, we'll go cover the freight. So we pretty much, it was get a truck, didn't matter the price, just get a truck, keep our customers happy. And then we started to notice about February 2022, the market started just a little bit shaky, you would say, it's not whatever I want anymore, it's customers only gonna pay this much. So we got to go down, and then it kept going down, and then it's been an overcapacity situation where I remember hearing stories where people would lose their nannies because they go get a truck because they can make so much money. They make as much as a doctor being a truck driver. It was insane. It was it was great because people it was great to see people having the opportunity.
Sure.
However, supply and demand, a major shift in supply caused and the demand didn't really keep up, like it can't. So it had to shift the other way. I think we're currently in an overcorrection, as we were talking about before. I think it's going to come back a little, but in order for that to happen, unfortunately, more trucks are going to have to leave the market.
Yes,
and that's unfortunate because there's a lot of good people out there who are going to lose their business, and it's not really fair, but it's economics. So.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
At that period of time when the market was booming, everybody was paying crazy money. Did C.H. Robinson lose money or made money?
I believe, you have to look at the financial records, and they're public, you can look it up. I don't remember. I know there were some bad quarters and some good quarters. I believe the good quarters were very, very good, and the bad quarters weren't that bad. But I don't know overall. That wasn't like C.H. Robinson was so big. I wasn't really involved in that part of it.
I see. So our next topic is actually gonna touch the C.H. Robinson. The topic is technology in trucking. So how do you see the roles of brokers changing with the rise of autonomous trucking and other technologies? And as far as I know, C.H. Robinson were one of the first brokers that are actually implementing AI brokers in their workspace, right?
I think there's always going to be the need for an intermediary in transportation. I think there will be less people doing more to cover freight in the future. I think there'll be more. I think the rise of fraud has really put a damper on having load boards and carriers book freight off the load board because it's just too risky to lose the loads. Trailer Bridge doesn't have a load board. We don't post anywhere. We believe in the relationship. AI is going to make it easier to cover stuff, but it's also going to take a lot of the profit margin out of trucking, out of the brokerage part of it. And like the 4PLs are going to, the price per lane is going to go down on 4PL. I think it's going to flatten everything. But the trucks cost so much that it's hard to justify it at the cost right now without the driver. And drivers are important. Like, how do you, if something goes wrong, what do you do? Like if your truck breaks down in Montana and you're 400 miles or 500 miles from a next person and there's no one there to see what's going on, that's a big problem. And or in West Texas or even in Chicago, if you're stuck in traffic, you can't do anything. I think there's always going to be a need for drivers, and it's just going to be. Over time, technology is a job driver, not a job depressor. So
definitely.
I think it's going to be the same. It might be different, but there's still going to be jobs.
I heard this quote from, I'm not sure, he was a public speaker. He said, AI is not going to replace people. People who use AI will replace people who don't.
Exactly.
So basically what I do right now, I'm implementing ChatGPT as much as possible. It helps me, for example, when I dispatch the truck, instead of looking at the rate confirmation, trying to write the pickup numbers, the dates, I just send it to the ChatGPT. He extracts every information that I need. I just send it over to the driver. Or for example, when I work with you guys, we do like 10, 15 loads on a weekly basis. What I do, I drop all of those 15 PDF files in the ChatGPT. He creates me Excel chart in which way I can monitor who picked up the load, who delivered. So, advice for people in trucking: use ChatGPT. It's an amazing tool, and everybody needs to learn it.
As far as rating, we're looking at vendors now for use AI. I think the term AI is overused, and and is it all great? And you get some really strange results sometimes if you're not careful with it. So just be careful. Is all I can really say. But it's amazing when it works.
So the next question I have is, what industry trends do you think will leave the biggest impact on trucking business in the next 5-10 years?
Obviously, technology is going to be a big industry trend. I see more immigrants coming in than there ever have been before to get into transportation. I think it's a great way to get a foothold in this country, and I think it's awesome. I think it's great that now when I started, we never talked to anyone overseas. Now I feel like we're talking to people all over the world every day, and I think that's great. Globalization has been great for trucking. I mean, 5 to 10 years is a long time. I've been doing this 25 years, and 5 to 10 years is a long time. A lot can happen. I think, I don't know. I mean, 5 to 10 years is a lot. I think there's going to be.
It's a hard question.
I think 10 years is about all I got left, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. So, but so figure it out.
We'll leave that question open.
Yeah.
My favorite topic and my favorite question that I have for you. It's a rate negotiation. What advice would you give to carriers about negotiating rates, especially in fluctuating markets? How can we leverage to get the most out of the load that you can give it to us?
As a broker, I don't want to answer that question. However, I think the best way to get the best rates always is have a good relationship with the person on the other end. Dealing with, like, you guys deal with Nathan in Kansas City, and he's a great dude, and he's always fair to you guys.
Yeah.
And having someone who knows where you want to go, even sometimes before you do, or having someone who at least knows like what your drivers really want, really helps, because it helps you get the best load for you, which takes some of the rate, off pressure off of it. Because if it's going right back to where the guy wants to go, you're not deadheading as far. You get a better load, and it's actually probably can make more money on less revenue, which I think is really the key. I think trying, if you have a specialty, push it. If you have a hazmat driver, hazmat authority, that's great. It's expensive as hell, so you better be making extra money on it. If you're running reefers, that's great, but there's drawbacks and all that stuff too. Flatbed, same thing, but you're going to deadhead more. I mean, but having a specialty, I think, is really what draws you out. I mean, and having technology is a flattener at this point because everyone has it. So, so it's just knowing the people you on the other end of the phone is really the best way to do it. Calling a random person, no, you're not going to find anything out. But
I believe how to get the best rates is to help each other.
Yeah.
The carrier cannot constantly asking the brokers for the best possible rates. Sometimes he also has to step down a little bit. He's like, hey, when Nathan, for example, asked me like, hey, I'm our manager, don't want to go over here. I was like, okay, that's fine. Just give it to me, I'll cover it. Sometimes you just gotta close your eyes and help the broker.
It has to be a give and take.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I know Nate's manager. He's a great dude, but he's hard. And I know that guy's a great person to work with, but he's a tough guy to work with. He's the tough negotiator sometimes, especially when he's someone else too. He's a great coach.
Oh, that's
he's going to push, but he knows that if you have that relationship, you say, hey, look, it's BH. You say, okay, let's let BH go this time because it's someone we work with regularly. So
you heard it yourself, guys. If you want to make more money, help each other, communicate. The transparency is the key. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. It's customer expectations. The question number one is, what do shippers expect from carriers, and how can carriers better meet those expectations?
Shippers want all the information they can get. If you're running late after you pick up a load, let people know ahead of time so you're not stuck with the appointment 2 weeks from now. We can get it scheduled as soon as we can to fix it for you. If there's an issue on the load, let's say a load lock load lock fell somehow, or I've seen it happen, it's crazy, once in a while it does, or the seal breaks or something, let everyone keep the same thing as the negotiate, let everyone know. I mean, I think keeping something to yourself just makes it harder on the inside. For when I don't share information to our customers, it just hurts me on the inside sometimes. You know what I mean? And being open, short term, it hurts, it's tough, but you got to be there. I mean, do your best to actually be on time. I mean, I know sometimes it's hard, and sometimes that place, and you can say, okay, I can show up an hour late, it's fine, but just tell them, say, hey, I know that place, like I've talked to Jerry at that receiver, it's cool, it's great, but tell them ahead of time so everyone's on the same page.
Be transparent, right?
Transparency in this industry is not great. It never has been, and but the more that's there, like, it makes it easier. So you don't have to worry about those tough appointments because you're open, you're honest with them.
Yeah, right.
It's the only way you can do it.
And actually, the second question was about, I kind of touched the first topic. How do you handle customer complaints or concerns, and what role do carriers play in maintaining customer satisfaction?
So I recently took over as the interim manager for our Chicago branch, and I wasn't really involved in the customer side till very recently. A lot of it's transparency again. Like I can't say enough, but you just gotta say, hey, sometimes the same thing with us and the customers. Hey, listen, we fucked this one up. Excuse me, we fucked this one up, but we'll get better, and maybe we'll refund some of it. Like giving that money back, it really was one way, or sending them T-shirts or sending them pizzas, or doing what you can to keep your customer, keep them happy. Keeping the customer happy is the most important thing I think of. Especially when you're dealing with some right now when they have so many choices to go do.
Well, so following up the same question, let's talk about the carrier side. So how do you handle issues like delayed deliveries or missed pickups with your carriers? When they let's talk about when they tell you that they are running late and when they don't tell you. What's the difference so people would know? And
obviously, when they tell you, you can deal with it earlier, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we try to get the next best appointment we can every single time because everyone wants it off the truck, right? The customer wants it there. We want to bill them. You want to get paid. You're not making money. The truck's sitting, so we do the best we can to do that. That being said, sometimes things happen. It's trucking, man.
Yeah,
like we do if we don't know, you're not going to get a good appointment. We'll do what we can, but if you're not going to tell us what's the problem, how are we supposed to fix it? Yeah. And that's, there's cases where, we find out a week later someone made a mistake and they get stuck in the yard or something. You know what I mean? Oh, we thought we delivered it and the driver never did. He went there in his car and his GPS showed him there and we're sorry.
Wow.
And that, you just hope you don't get a claim. That's all you can really say.
Happens these days. That's crazy.
You never know. I mean, it's
it's
happened. Yeah.
So much. So we are coming to the end of our podcast, and our final topic is the future of freight. The first question is, what's your outlook on the freight capacity for the next year, and what advice do you have for carriers preparing for potential changes?
So, it can't get much worse, right? You know what I
mean? You never know at this point.
It can't get much worse. I mean, rates are below costs, and that's just miserable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people, I was reading this morning, people are leaving the market both on the brokerage side and the carrier side daily. And Midwest, that postage carrier that went down, that was sad. 473 people lost their jobs because of that. Just not what anyone wants. I've read and I follow Jason Miller on LinkedIn, and I follow Ken Amato on LinkedIn, and our own internal data I've looked at, and I was at CH for a long time, so I have a lot of friends in this, and the last couple months have shown some positive signs. Everyone's predicted an end to the freight recession since it began.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm not going to say for sure, but positive signs, fourth quarter, close election, fuel prices down. I saw something about de-inflation in China, which is absurd. That's really scary. It got to pick up. I'm not saying by what percent, but I think
there's some signs to it.
Through the end of the year, I think we should. It's going to get better. You never know what a winter is going to happen. What happens in January or post, January 15th, when it gets slow again. You never know what's going to happen, but. I'm an optimist always, so it's gonna get better.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll figure out closer to the year.
Yeah,
closer to by the end of the year.
I mean, you usually know by Thanksgiving what's gonna happen for the rest of the year. That being said, it's only 60 days, 30, 45 days the rest of the year. So it could be a crazy end of the year, and those are fun. Those crazy crazy end of the years are always fun, but there's also years you're like, well, what happened? It falls off. But
I remember that the ending of the last year. So we were expecting for that last week of the year when everything goes crazy.
Yeah,
it was silent. We were so shocked. We didn't know what to do. But I think by the middle of January, it picked up a little bit.
Yeah.
So our drivers were happy on there, okay, it's time for me to go home and get some rest, because everybody's waiting for that busy week to make as much money as possible and then go home. But it didn't happen. So
the other thing is that everyone knows this the schedule now. You used to be when I started, like we had no idea. We kind of knew that produce was a thing. You didn't really know when it started, when it ended. Like this is like the early 2020s. You didn't know like the last week of the year was a thing. Like that just didn't happen. Then as more data's come out, you now see that it's like, oh, okay,
technology,
yeah. Okay, now we get it. We understand what's going on. But yeah.
Okay, so the final question for today is how can carriers diversify their business to ensure steady work year round? Maybe there is something we don't see, because like let me tell you from the dispatcher side. What we feel like we need to give transparency, communication, and big capacity. Maybe there is something that we should, as I said, diversify. Is there any advice that you have for us? For the carriers in general?
That's tough. I mean, look, I've never worked at a truck. I mean, I've worked at an intern at a trucking company, and that was specialized stuff, so that was different. I think all I can say is the same thing I've been saying. Be transparent, form those relationships, and I think as you form the relationships and brokers know what you want, when the opportunities come about, like I was offered some drop trailer stuff that I didn't even know who to ask, you know what I mean? Like, but like if I knew who to ask, I could quote it, and I can, everyone could be happier, but like also there's no rule saying brokers can't reach out directly to customers, right? I know the contracts say you can't reach out directly to customers, you haul for that broker. However, we're in an office park in Rolling Meadows. There's a lot of places around here you can call and be like, hey, I have trucks, and I think getting to the scale where you have direct customers, I mean, you're saving money on whatever the broker is making on the load or losing on the load, but either way, and you can offer services that you have, or you can, grow your fleet in a way that helps them.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
I think not that I want to be cut out of the equation, but having your own head haul and just getting a back haul is a lot easier than trying to do it both ways.
Definitely. Well, that's it for today, Mike. Thanks for coming. I appreciate
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.